Imagine living in a time when peace reigned supreme, where the land flourished and wisdom was the ultimate currency. That was the era of Solomon, the third king of Israel, a period historians and Bible scholars often call the Golden Age of the Hebrew people. Solomon didn't just inherit a throne, he inherited the responsibility of leading a kingdom that would become a symbol of prosperity and balance. His lands overflowed with wealth and influence, but his greatest treasure wasn't in the gold mines or the spice caravans that crossed his borders. It was something far more precious, the wisdom God granted him. During his reign, Solomon stood out as a leader who sought justice and the well-being of his people. Here's the thing, he understood that true wealth isn't just about accumulating material goods, it's about how those resources are managed. Think about it in your own life. What's the point of making lots of money if there's no wisdom to manage it? Just as Solomon ruled a kingdom of abundance, you can manage your own life wisely and create your personal golden age. It all starts with smart choices, whether it's in the investments you make or the relationships you build. The Bible's descriptions of Solomon's reign are awe-inspiring. His palace was a monument to grandeur. Picture a place where the halls were adorned with the finest gold, and thrones reflected the wealth of a blessed kingdom. But what set Solomon apart from other wealthy rulers of antiquity was his ability to use that wealth to improve the lives of his people. He invested in infrastructure, strengthened cities, and most importantly brought stability. And here's a principle worth its weight in gold. True prosperity happens when your actions also benefit those around you. A fascinating detail is that Solomon's reign was marked by unprecedented peace. While neighboring kingdoms dealt with wars and conflicts, Israel thrived. It's kind of like that feeling of paying all your bills at the end of the month and still having money left to save or invest. Solomon showed that peace, like wisdom, is a strategic choice. Have you ever thought about how inner peace could transform the way you approach life? Sometimes it's not about needing more money, but finding the calm to make wiser decisions. In addition to wealth and peace, Solomon brought a sense of purpose to his people. He understood that God's blessings were meant to be shared and used to create a legacy. He turned Israel into a cultural and economic hub, a place where nations and cultures converged. Today, you can apply that principle by building your own community of purpose, whether that's within your family, among friends, or even in your work. Ask yourself, how can I use what I have to positively impact those around me? Solomon's power wasn't just in what he owned, it was in what he represented. He was a king who reflected God's values in his leadership. Imagine if we all lived with that sense of responsibility and faith. Solomon teaches us that no matter the size of your kingdom, whether it's a household, a business, or a personal project, when you put God at the center, prosperity becomes a natural outcome. It's not about wealth for the sake of wealth. It's about building something greater than yourself. Interestingly, the fame of Solomon's kingdom spread far and wide, attracting leaders from distant lands eager to learn from him. It wasn't just about his riches. It was the wisdom with which he managed everything. Think about that. Real influence comes not from what you own, but from what you know and share. How can you be a source of wisdom in your circle? Maybe it's by offering advice, sharing lessons from your own experiences, or simply being a guiding light. Just like Solomon, you can be an inspiration to others. The reign of Solomon also makes us reflect on how prosperity and wisdom are deeply connected. In the Bible, we see that God blessed Solomon not only with wealth, but also with the ability to make sound decisions. If you're seeking prosperity, maybe the first step is asking God for wisdom, just as Solomon did. It's like that old saying, "Teach me to fish instead of giving me a fish." Wisdom gives us the tools to achieve lasting success. Another intriguing aspect of Solomon's rule was his ability to balance multiple priorities. He understood that a thriving kingdom needed commerce, culture, and faith working together. That's a balance we can all strive for in our lives. If you feel like you're constantly chasing your tail, maybe it's time to stop and reflect. How can I align my priorities to create a more balanced flow? Just as Solomon's kingdom prospered with planning and strategy, so can your life. However, Solomon didn't have it all figured out from the start. He inherited a kingdom and had to learn how to lead it. The key lies in continuous learning and seeking God's guidance. And this brings us to the next aspect of Solomon's life, one that goes beyond wealth and power, his wisdom. After all, it's wisdom that transforms opportunities into lasting achievements. And that leads us to the most fascinating part, how Solomon received the greatest gift of his life. Wisdom is one of the greatest treasures anyone can have, and Solomon is the ultimate embodiment of that gift. Picture this. A young king, freshly crowned, kneels before God and makes a request that would change the course of his life and his nation. Instead of asking for wealth, victory over his enemies, or a long life, Solomon asked for something extraordinary, a wise and understanding heart to lead his people with justice. God, amazed by the humility and sincerity behind the request, granted him wisdom beyond any human of his time. Solomon's choice teaches us a powerful lesson. So often, we focus on asking for immediate results, like money or success, but we forget to ask for the tools to achieve and sustain those results. It's kind of like wanting to start a business. There's no point in just wishing for profit if you don't also ask for understanding, strategic vision, and leadership skills. Solomon got this, and God rewarded him generously, not just with wisdom, but also with riches and fame he didn't even ask for. The most famous example of Solomon's wisdom is the story of two women claiming to be the mother of the same baby. Solomon proposed cutting the child in half, a move that instantly revealed the true mother. Only she was willing to give up her child to save its life. This story isn't just about clever judgment, it's about empathy and the ability to understand human motives. Solomon knew the real mother's love would shine through. And what about you? How can you use empathy and wisdom in your daily decisions? Sometimes the best solution doesn't come from cold, hard facts, but from looking deeper and understanding the bigger picture. Solomon also reminds us that wisdom isn't a static gift. It has to be cultivated. He was constantly seeking knowledge, writing proverbs, and reflecting on life's mysteries, as seen in the books of Proverbs and Ecclesiastes. The takeaway here is clear. Even if you're naturally smart or insightful, it's daily practice, reflection, and continuous learning that make the real difference. Why not start today by reading something that expands your mind? A great place to begin is the book of Proverbs. It's packed with practical life lessons. Solomon's wisdom also drew people from far and wide. His fame spread, and leaders from across the world sought his advice. Think about it. When you cultivate wisdom, it doesn't just improve your life, it also attracts others to you. Friends, co-workers, even strangers recognize the value of someone who truly knows what they're doing. So instead of trying to impress others with external achievements, invest in your inner growth. When you have something of real value to offer, the world notices. It's fascinating to see how Solomon's wisdom was directly tied to his connection with God. He didn't just receive a gift, he relied on divine guidance to use it well. So often, we look for answers in the world, but forget to consult the ultimate source of wisdom. In moments of doubt or decision, seeking God is like accessing a foolproof guide for life's challenges. Try this. Before making an important decision, take time to pray and reflect. You might be surprised at the clarity that comes. Another practical lesson we can learn from Solomon is that wisdom means knowing how to listen. He was famous for his ability to patiently hear people out before making decisions. In today's fast-paced world, where everyone's in a rush, truly listening feels like a lost art. But imagine how much your life could improve if you just listened more to your co-workers, your family, or even your own intuition. Wisdom starts when we stop just reacting and begin truly understanding. Solomon's wisdom also teaches us the importance of making tough decisions. The easiest path isn't always the right one, and he knew it. Sometimes you have to choose what's correct, even when it's not popular. It's like leading a team at work. You might have to say no to something that looks appealing. Now, to ensure long-term success, Solomon had that kind of clarity, and that's what makes a leader truly exceptional. Interestingly, wisdom didn't eliminate the challenges of Solomon's reign. He still faced complex dilemmas and situations that tested his faith and discernment. This reminds us that wisdom isn't about avoiding problems, it's about facing them with courage and clarity. Have you noticed how, when you feel calm and confident, even the biggest challenges seem smaller? Wisdom gives you that peace because you know you're equipped to handle whatever comes your way. As we dive deeper into Solomon's wisdom, an intriguing question emerges. How did someone so wise manage so many responsibilities and still maintain his faith in God? The answer lies in the balance he sought between his divine connection and his duties as king. But that's just the beginning. His wisdom left a lasting impact on culture and history, especially through the writings he left as a legacy. Solomon wasn't just a king. He was also a writer and philosopher whose influence went far beyond the borders of his kingdom. Imagine someone who, in addition to ruling a prosperous empire, found the time to reflect on life's mysteries and turn them into timeless words of wisdom. His writings, recorded in the Bible, are like a spiritual and practical compass for anyone seeking meaning and direction. Books like Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and Song of Songs reveal not just a wise man, but a deep thinker who understood the complexities of the human soul. The book of Proverbs, in particular, is a masterpiece of practical wisdom. Packed with short, straightforward advice, it tackles topics like work, family, friendship, and integrity. It's like a user's manual for living a successful life. One of its most famous verses says, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom." That line captures the essence of Solomon's philosophy. True understanding of life begins with a connection to God. Why not try reading a chapter a day and reflecting on how you can apply it to your life? You'll find that, even today, Solomon's teachings are surprisingly relevant. Ecclesiastes, on the other hand, dives into Solomon's emotional and spiritual depth. He didn't shy away from grappling with life's big questions. What's the purpose of life? What truly brings happiness? What remains when everything else fades away? It's a text that resonates with the doubts and reflections we all have. At some point, when he says everything is meaningless, he's not being pessimistic but realistic, reminding us that material things are temporary and that we should strive for a greater purpose. Who hasn't had those moments of deep reflection? Ecclesiastes challenges us to think beyond the surface and find deeper meaning. Then there's Song of Songs, also known as the Song of Solomon, which celebrates love in its purest, most intimate form. This poetic and symbolic book can be read as an allegory of God's love for his people or as an expression of the beauty of human love. It teaches us that love, when rooted in respect and commitment, is one of life's richest and most transformative experiences. In today's world, where love is often treated as disposable, Solomon's words are a powerful reminder of the value and depth that true love can have. Beyond the biblical books, Solomon is credited with writing thousands of proverbs and songs. While not all of them have survived the test of time, what remains is enough to give us a glimpse into his brilliant mind. Imagine having the ability to condense profound truths into short, impactful statements that endure for centuries. That's no small feat, and Solomon was a master at it. He understood that wisdom isn't just about knowing a lot. It's about communicating the essentials clearly and powerfully. Solomon's cultural impact went beyond his writings. He was a patron of the arts and literature, fostering an environment where creativity and deep thought could thrive. His reign stands as a testament to how culture can enrich the soul of a nation. Today, we often overlook the power of art and words to inspire us and connect us to something greater. But Solomon knew that a nation rich in culture is a nation rich in spirit. One of the most striking features of Solomon's writings is his balanced approach. He didn't see life in black and white. He understood its nuances. In Proverbs, he praises hard work, but also emphasizes the importance of rest. In Ecclesiastes, he acknowledges the futility of human ambition, but encourages us to enjoy life's simple pleasures. This balanced wisdom is something we can all apply, especially in a world that often pushes us toward extremes. Solomon's writings also show how spirituality and practicality can go hand in hand. He didn't separate the sacred from the secular. To him, everything was part of one integrated reality. That's why his proverbs are so practical. They show that God cares not just about our prayers, but also about how we treat our neighbors, manage our time, and handle our finances. This integrated view of life is something we can learn from and put into practice. It's incredible to think that Solomon's writings have crossed centuries and continue to inspire millions of people around the world. This leads us to reflect on the power of words. What you write or say today could impact future generations. You may not be a writer like Solomon, but we all leave a legacy through our words and actions. What are you building today that will be remembered tomorrow? This is a call to use your influence, no matter how small it seems, in a positive way. Solomon's literary legacy is undoubtedly one of the greatest treasures he left us, but it's important to remember that these writings didn't just appear out of nowhere. They were the result of his life experiences, his pursuit of God, and his constant reflection. This teaches us that wisdom isn't something you simply receive. It's something you build over time, with effort and dedication. And just as Solomon left a lasting cultural impact, his story leads us to the next chapter of his legacy, the grand works that physically transformed the landscape of Israel. Solomon's reign is remembered not just for his wisdom and wealth, but also for his incredible architectural achievements. His greatest masterpiece, the Temple in Jerusalem, known as the First Temple. Imagine a structure so magnificent it seemed to reach the heavens, a place where people could connect directly with God. The temple wasn't just a physical building, it was a symbol of the covenant between God and Israel, a landmark of faith and devotion that defined the identity of the Hebrew people. The construction process itself was a monumental feat. Solomon employed thousands of workers and highly skilled artisans. Cedars from Lebanon were shipped across the sea. Massive stones were cut and fitted with incredible precision, and gold was used to adorn the interior. Just think about the logistics and organization required to pull off such a colossal project. In a time without modern technology, it's a powerful reminder that great projects require vision, planning, and collaboration, lessons we can apply in every area of life. The temple was divided into several sections, each with deep symbolic meaning. The Holy of Holies, for instance, was the most sacred space, where the Ark of the Covenant was kept. Only the high priest could enter, and only once a year, to offer sacrifices and intercede for the people. That meticulous attention to detail teaches us something important. In life, some things demand reverence and special dedication. Think about it. What in your life deserves more attention and respect? Maybe it's your faith, your family, or even a dream you've been putting off. Beyond the temple, Solomon also built a magnificent palace, a testament to his skills as both an administrator and architect. Known as the Palace of the Forest of Lebanon, it was as grand as it was functional. That balance between beauty and utility is something we can all strive for. It's not enough to build something beautiful, it also needs to be practical and lasting. Whether it's a home, a relationship, or a project, ask yourself, is this being built to stand the test of time? The temple's construction was also a moment of unity for the people of Israel. Everyone contributed in some way, through labor, resources, or prayers. That sense of unity is a reminder that great things are achieved when we work together toward a common goal. In your life, how can you foster that kind of collaboration? Maybe it's by bringing your family together for a shared project, helping out in your community, or connecting more deeply with your co-workers. When the temple was completed, Solomon held one of the grandest celebrations in Israel's history. He dedicated the temple to God with a powerful prayer, asking that it always be a place of refuge and communion with the Lord. This moment teaches us the importance of acknowledging and thanking God for our achievements. Whether it's a new home, a job, or any other goal you've reached, it's crucial to take time to celebrate and express gratitude. The temple's impact wasn't just spiritual, it was cultural and political too. It put Jerusalem on the map as a central city in the ancient world, drawing visitors and allies from various nations. This makes us think about how our own achievements can influence and inspire others. What are you building today that might have a positive impact in the future? It might seem small now, but over time it could grow and touch the lives of many. The temple's architecture also underscores the importance of building with quality and purpose. Solomon didn't cut corners or use cheap materials to speed up the process. He understood that something built for God should be done with excellence. That same mindset can be applied to our own lives. Whatever work you're doing, give it your very best. Excellence is a way of showing respect, whether it's for God, for others, or for yourself. Despite the temple's splendor, it also carries a lesson about the impermanence of material things. Centuries later, the temple was destroyed by the Babylonians, a sobering reminder that even the most magnificent works are temporary. It's a call to focus on what truly lasts, our relationship with God. Ask yourself, what are you investing in that will have lasting value? Maybe it's time to reevaluate your priorities. Solomon's architectural legacy is a testament to his vision and skill as a leader. But his greatest contribution wasn't just what he built with his hands, it was what he inspired in future generations. And this brings us to the next chapter of Solomon's story, where his wisdom and wealth made Jerusalem a hub of global alliances and cultural exchange. This far-reaching impact takes us into how Solomon became a figure known across the ancient world. Solomon didn't just rule Israel, he put his nation on the global stage. During his reign, Israel became a crossroads for cultures, ideas, and wealth. What caught the attention of kings and rulers across the ancient world wasn't just the glitter of gold or the grandeur of the temple. It was Solomon's unmatched wisdom. It was as if a light shone from Jerusalem, drawing in those searching for answers to life's deepest questions. And when they came, they weren't disappointed. One of the most iconic moments of Solomon's global fame was the visit of the Queen of Sheba. This ruler from a distant land, likely modern-day Ethiopia or Yemen, heard of Solomon's wisdom and decided to test him with tough questions. Imagine the scene, a powerful leader, traveling with a massive entourage and lavish gifts, crossing deserts to meet a king whose words were said to be more valuable than gold. When she finally met Solomon, she was so amazed that she exclaimed, "Not even half of it was told to me." The Queen of Sheba's visit teaches us something profound about the pursuit of wisdom. No matter how rich or influential she was, her journey shows that everyone at some point feels the need for something greater than power or material possessions. Solomon reminds us that the true value of life isn't in what we own, it's in what we know and share. How about you? Are you chasing something deeper in your life, or are you just running after the superficial? Beyond impressing royal visitors, Solomon used his wisdom to create a network of diplomatic alliances that strengthened Israel. He married princesses from other nations and negotiated treaties that secured peace and prosperity for his kingdom. Sure, some of these alliances sparked controversy and led to consequences later on, but they showcased his ability to think beyond the borders of his own territory. He understood that growth requires connection with the wider world. Solomon was also a master of commerce and economic expansion. He established trade routes that linked Israel to far-off regions, enabling the flow of goods like gold, spices, cedarwood, and even exotic animals. Under his leadership, Israel flourished economically, and Jerusalem became a hub of trade and culture. For us, this serves as a powerful reminder that success often comes from building bridges, whether literal or figurative. How can you create connections that open up new opportunities? But Solomon's fame wasn't just about wealth and power. It was about how he used those resources for the greater good. He asked questions that went beyond the surface, like, how can I benefit my people? Or how can I use my influence to promote justice and peace? These questions are just as relevant today as they were then. In your own life, how can you use your resources, whether big or small, to help others, not just yourself? What's fascinating about Solomon is that his wisdom crossed cultural and religious boundaries. He became a figure admired not only by Israelites, but also by people from entirely different traditions. This shows us the power of universal wisdom. When you speak truth and act with justice, your message resonates no matter where you are or who's listening. That's why Solomon remains an inspiration to people worldwide, even thousands of years later. Solomon's diplomacy also highlights the balance between strategy and sincerity. He knew that alliances were essential for protecting and strengthening Israel, but he also understood that respect and trust were the foundation of any lasting relationship. That's something we can all apply to our own lives. Whether it's at work, within your family, or among friends, every strong connection is built on mutual respect. Are you cultivating that in your relationships? Interestingly, despite all his fame and success, Solomon never lost sight of his ultimate source of wisdom, God. He recognized that his ability to govern and attract people from around the world didn't come solely from his intelligence, but from his divine connection. That reminds us that no matter how talented or accomplished we are, there's always something greater guiding and sustaining us. In moments of doubt or pride, remember that humility before God keeps us on the right path. As Solomon expanded his global influence, he also faced the challenge of managing the weight of great responsibility. The greater the success, the heavier the burden he carried. And that brings us to a darker side of his story, the choices that gradually pulled him away from God. While his fame was immense, his faithfulness would be tested in ways that would affect not just his life, but the entire future of Israel. This turning point in Solomon's journey is what we'll explore next. Even with all his wisdom, wealth, and achievements, Solomon wasn't immune to the pitfalls that come with power. What starts as a bright journey can sometimes take a wrong turn, and Solomon's story teaches us that even the wisest can make choices that pull them away from their principles. His life, which began as a testament to his devotion to God, started to show cracks as he drifted away from what truly mattered. One of the key factors in his downfall was his obsession with political alliances through marriage. Solomon had hundreds of wives and concubines, many of them from foreign nations. These marriages were meant to secure alliances with other kingdoms, but they brought serious spiritual consequences. Many of these women brought their religious practices with them, introducing idolatry into Israel. It's a reminder of how seemingly strategic decisions can compromise our values in the long run. So, how about you? Are there compromises or shortcuts in your life that might be jeopardizing what's most important to you? Despite his divine wisdom, Solomon began building altars for foreign gods, something God had explicitly forbidden. This departure from his original faith was a clear sign of how he allowed external influences to erode his devotion. It makes us think about the small compromises we make in our daily lives. They might seem harmless at first, but over time they can pull us away from our goals and our connection to God. Take a moment. Is there something in your life that started small but has now taken up more space than it should? Another sign of Solomon's decline was how he began exploiting his own people. To sustain his massive projects, he imposed heavy taxes and forced labor. The king, who had once ruled with justice and compassion, now seemed out of touch with the needs of his people. This teaches us that power, if unchecked, can make us lose sight of others. In your life, are you taking care of the people around you? Or are you so focused on your own projects that you've drifted away from those who matter? The Bible shows us that God was deeply disappointed with Solomon. Despite all the blessings he had received, Solomon chose disobedience. God warned him that because of his choices, the kingdom would be divided after his death. This moment reminds us that our decisions have consequences. Even the most blessed among us aren't exempt from responsibility for their actions. Have you stopped to consider the long-term consequences of the choices you're making today? Solomon's decline also reflects a universal truth. It's not about how well you start, it's about how you finish. He began his life with a heart devoted to God, but over time, he drifted away. That serves as a wake-up call for all of us. It's easy to get caught up in the routines of life, the demands or external influences, but it's crucial to stay focused on what truly matters. Are you living in a way that honors the purpose God has for your life? One of the most important lessons from this chapter of Solomon's life is that wisdom without obedience isn't enough. He had knowledge and discernment, but failed to apply it in his own life. It's like someone who knows exactly what to do to stay healthy, but ignores their own advice. True wisdom is lived, not just spoken. Is there an area in your life where you know what needs to change, but haven't taken the first step yet? Despite his downfall, it's important to remember that Solomon's story isn't just a tragedy. It's also a reflection of God's mercy. Even in the face of his mistakes, God kept his promise that David's throne would endure forever. This shows us that even when we fail, God is willing to give us another chance. Is there an area in your life where you feel like you need a second chance? Remember, it's never too late to start fresh. Solomon also teaches us the importance of acknowledging our mistakes. In the book of Ecclesiastes, he reflects on his life and concludes that everything is meaningless except fearing God and keeping his commandments. Those words reveal a man who, at the end of his life, understood what truly mattered. Maybe you're at a point where you need to pause and reflect. What really holds value in your life? Don't wait until the end to figure it out. Solomon's story is a powerful reminder that even the greatest can fall, but it's also a testament to how God never fully abandons us. And just as his reign ended with a divided kingdom, it prompts us to think about the legacies we leave behind. Solomon inspires and warns us, showing that true wisdom lies in staying faithful, even when life's temptations and challenges arise. While his story comes to an end, it leaves us with enduring lessons to consider as we reflect on how his life impacts our world today. So what can we take away from Solomon's story? He showed us that wisdom, wealth, and power are incredible gifts, but they don't guarantee a fulfilling life without obedience to God and a clear sense of purpose. His life mirrors what so many of us face today. We start with big dreams, chase extraordinary achievements, but along the way, it's so easy to get lost in distractions, wrong choices, and misplaced priorities. Now it's your turn to reflect. What are you building in your life? Are you seeking wisdom to make better decisions? Are you investing your time and resources into something that truly holds eternal value? Solomon started with a simple yet profound request: a wise and understanding heart. Maybe that's the key to transforming your life today. Have you ever thought about what it would look like to stop chasing the wind and start living with real purpose? If this story resonated with you, drop a comment and share what impacted you the most. How about sharing one choice you're ready to change, or a goal you want to pursue with more wisdom? And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell, because here you'll find more powerful stories and life-changing lessons like this one. On the screen now, you can click on other videos to build on what you've just learned. Stick with me on this journey of growth and discovery. See you next time.